Nothing is more important to Chicago Public Schools than the safety and well-being of our students. The trust that parents and families entrust us with is sacred. Over the years, CPS has continuously improved efforts to protect students. However, as recent stories have shown, CPS needed to do more to protect its students. For the past 5 months, we have set out to change the culture in the district by carrying out an unprecedented effort to revamp the way we respond to and prevent sexual abuse.
How did 520 kids go unreported? I was a counselor in an elementary school. My first thing I did was report it. I reported it to my principal, and then I called DCFS. I'm not an investigator, so it wasn't my job to investigate. Who dropped the ball?
What I'm here to talk about today is sort of how we prevent situations like that from happening in the future. One of the roles of the coordinators is really to work closely with the principal or the AP or the person who handles the discipline. We don't ride in and try to tell the principal how they should run their school. What we provide is technical support to those principals, and we work through them and the counselors and the social workers to ensure that services are provided and supports are put in place.
To be perfectly honest with you, and no disrespect to anybody here, an Office of Student Protections, their school should be the Office of Student Protection. Your school should protect you. When you walk in that building, your school should protect you. You should have a counselor full-time, social worker full-time. The social emotional workers and all these guys that I worked with, they didn't know my kids. They didn't know my kids. You said you have 13 schools, 15 schools or something, 60 schools. How do you know your kids on a one-on-one basis like that? You don't.
When there are allegations of sexual abuse of a student, what are the educational and clinical licensing requirements of those conducting the interviews?
So we have a broad array of professional licenses and experiences within the OSP. I think maybe I'd ask Aaron to talk a little bit broadly about the backgrounds of the various coordinators.
And thank you for your question. I do want to clarify that our coordinators are typically not providing direct counseling or screening. We are very much deferring to folks who are either external expertise and counselors on this work or internal to the school. So if that wasn't clear before, I want to make that clear.
They are the ones who are conducting the interview?
No. So no one on the coordination team would be conducting an interview. In a higher level case, they may go to the school to make sure logistics on the ground are being followed and everyone is safe and the processes are trauma informed, but I'm sorry, thank you. But they wouldn't necessarily they won't be directly interviewing. Deb could talk a little bit more about what her team does in direct interaction with students. From the coordination side, that's not something we necessarily do. Now, we do have folks on our coordination team who have clinical licensure. Others who do not have experience in working with youth in crisis in other ways. And we are also very cognizant of the fact that those folks are exposed to vicarious trauma, secondary trauma, and thoughtful about the ways that we are supporting them as well.
So there's no requirement that the person must be a licensed clinical social worker or psychologist to interview a child for sexual abuse?
There's not.
How many of your employees are bilingual? And what languages do they speak? Anyone?
Yeah.
So I have one bilingual investigator out of 5, but all Spanish-speaking cases where there is a language barrier, they all go to her.
So one person out of 5
Yes.
speaks Spanish
Yes.
for a school district that is 50% Latino.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Well, so we do.
Or more.
We do.
Well, then,
We have one opening.
So
and
what is the total number of people you have that are currently filling these positions in your section?
We have one opening.
So how many is that filled?
We have 5 of 6 investigators.
So 5
slots filled.
investigators, 4 currently positions are filled, of which 1 is bilingual only in Spanish. So all Spanish-speaking complaints from any Spanish-speaking caller goes to that one individual. What happens
I
for...
apologize. I'm not
I'm
on
not
the
done
call
yet.
center.
What, for What about for other languages spoke? Because I'm not just concerned about Spanish speakers. Obviously, we have Polish, we have Mandarin, we have Lithuanian, we have all kinds of everything in this city. And that's just your department, right? Okay. You have 2 more sections?
That's right.
Yes. So similar to the investigations team, we have 6 positions filled out of 7, and currently one of them is fluent in Spanish, and similarly works with mostly the parents who may call with questions related.
1 of 6 of 7, right? Next.
I am bilingual in Spanish and have worked providing bilingual and bicultural advocacy for students. And currently only 1 out of 3 of my positions are filled. And to my knowledge, they do not speak other languages, but we haven't gone into that need so far.
Okay.
So I have 2 positions open still.
2/3 of your section's unfilled, the one that is speaks Spanish. Next is 6 out of 7, 1's unfilled, 1 speaks Spanish, and 5 out of 6, of which 1. So I think this actually demonstrates what Alderman Maldonado was trying to get at, which is that you're not equipped to deal with your population that you're being asked to serve. You're talking about some serious subjects, very serious, very unfortunate. But even the subjects that we have tasked to deal with now in CPS, just regular bullying, we don't get right.
Yeah.
The simplest, he pushed me into the locker, or he's picking on me, we don't even get that right. So I have serious reservations when I see that we have to have this kind of back and forth tension just to get to the point of where we're at. For my students, and Jadine and CPS knows, because this has been a constant concern for me among all demographics, all neighborhoods that I represent on all levels, is that if we're not putting our best foot forward, you only get to make a first impression once. And if the calls are coming in, and this is an issue that continues to come up, and we're not putting our best foot forward in every community that uses you, then, you know, I know Alderman Garza said put $3 million towards counselors. We're just throwing $3 million out the window at this point if we're not doing it right. And we have to do it right.